Welcome back to Strawberry Ink. Today we're diving into the chilling case of Gary Michael Hilton, a man who became known as the National Forest serial killer. His story spans multiple states, countless courtrooms, and leaves us with the haunting suspicion that there may be even more victims we don't know about. Gary Michael Hilton was born on November 22nd, 1946, in Atlanta, Georgia. His early life was marked by instability and his later years by crime. He had a long rap sheet, and by the late 1970s, he already faced serious charges, including a 1977 conviction for kidnapping and murder in Florida's Apalachicola National Forest. Decades later, his pattern became unmistakable. Hilton would stalk isolated trails inside national forests, approach unsuspecting hikers, overpower them, and abduct them. A survivalist and former U.S. Army soldier, he was skilled at living off the grid. He carried a firearm and knew the terrain, making him a dangerous predator in some of America's most serene landscapes. Cheryl Dunlap, a nurse and Sunday school teacher, vanished on December 1st, 2007. She did not even make it to Christmas that year. She had been hiking in the Apalachicola National Forest of Florida. Her remains were discovered by other hikers weeks later who alerted rangers. Meredith Emerson, a 24-year-old hiker, was abducted on New Year's Day in 2008 from Blood Mountain in Georgia. Days later, her body was found, also by hikers, who alerted the rangers. She had been with her black Labrador, Ella, who was found alive in a Kroger supermarket parking lot on January 4th. Ella was later taken in by Meredith's parents, Susan and Dave Emerson. John and Irene Bryant, an elderly couple, were killed in 2007 while hiking in North Carolina's Nantahala and Pisgah National Forests. Coroners in Union, Franklin, and Jackson counties later confirmed their deaths as murders. Hilton's crimes left trails. Witnesses described a suspicious man, and surveillance footage placed him near his victims. A gas station clerk reported seeing a man who matched Hilton's description cleaning his van suspiciously. Inside that van, investigators later found fibers and personal items tying Hilton directly to Emerson's murder. When law enforcement finally approached Hilton at that gas station in Georgia, he did not put up a major fight. The arrest seemed almost anticlimactic given the brutality of his crimes, but it was a result of careful tracking, eyewitness accounts, and forensic investigation. He was initially held at the Union County Jail in Georgia after a short stop at their sheriff's headquarters because multiple states wanted him. Extradition requests followed soon. Grand juries in 3 states unsealed indictments against Hilton. In Georgia, for malice murder, kidnapping, and concealment. Florida, for first-degree murder, kidnapping, and felony theft. For North Carolina, this being federal, for kidnapping, firearms offenses, and 2 counts of robbery. In each case, the death penalty was considered. After his arrest in January 2008, Hilton waived extradition before Union County Superior Court Judge John Gerardo, who had also denied him bond. To Florida, Hilton was transported by U.S. Marshals to the Leon County Jail. To North Carolina, he was moved through the Asheville Federal Courthouse before being placed in the Buncombe County Jail. He was arraigned in Georgia by Judge John Gerardio. In Florida, by Leon County Circuit Judge James Hankerson. In North Carolina, by Federal Magistrate Trevor Sharp, that was in Asheville's federal court. Hilton pleaded not guilty in each case, and all judges ordered that he remain behind bars without bond to await trial. On January 31st, 2008, he was ready to go to trial in Georgia, but he struck a plea deal on the first day. That was in Dawson County. He pleaded guilty to murder, kidnapping, and attempted rape. The concealment charge was dropped. Judge Bobby Williams immediately sentenced him to life in prison with the possibility of parole after completing a minimum of 30 years. In April 2013, he reached another plea deal, pleading guilty to kidnapping, robbery, and firearms offenses. He was sentenced to 4 consecutive terms of life in prison without parole, avoiding the death penalty. Hilton's most high-profile trial took place in Florida. On January 31st, 2011, jury selection began at the Leon County Circuit Court, with Judge James Hankerson presiding. On the 16th day the following month, the jury convicted Hilton on all charges related to Cheryl Dunlap's murder. Then on the 22nd day of that February, the jury unanimously recommended the death penalty. And on April 21st that year, a day after the spooky 420, Judge Hankerson formally sentenced Hilton to death. Hilton tried to fight his convictions, but his appeals were denied at every level. In Georgia and North Carolina, judges refused to let him withdraw his guilty pleas. In Florida, the Supreme Court upheld his conviction, citing overwhelming aggravating evidence. Hilton's claims of bias, jury errors, and improper use of statements all failed. He petitioned to the U.S. Supreme Court in Washington, D.C., but they declined to hear any of his cases. Then, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals in Richmond, North Carolina, also denied relief for that federal case. These were all the final decisions in his appeals. Today, Hilton is incarcerated at the Union Correctional Institution in Rayford, Florida, on death row. He shares the facility with other notorious inmates, including Markeith Lloyd, the Orlando cop killer, and Nicholas Cruz, the Parkland shooter. Law enforcement strongly suspects Hilton may have had more victims, but despite investigations into other cold cases, no additional charges have been proven. Gary Hilton's capture ended the reign of one of America's most dangerous wilderness predators. From Georgia to Florida to North Carolina, his crimes left deep scars on victims' families and entire communities. Though the courts have spoken and Hilton's appeals have been exhausted, the lingering question remains: how many more lives did he take that we'll never know about? I wonder myself. Until next time, stay safe, take care, and have a good rest of your day. Rest in peace to those affected.